Hey kids, Flexing Teacher Weber here. This is part 2 of a decimal to percent and fraction. So again, no matter what the decimal, take said decimal and mentally multiply by 100 to make the percent. 2 zeros on 100 shifts the decimal 1, 2, right in between the 2 and the 5. And that gives you 12 and 5/10%, or 12.5%. All right, fraction, 2 parts. Numerator, take the digits behind the decimal, so the 1, the 2, and the 5, and that becomes the numerator of the fraction. Okay, for the denominator, count the number of decimal places. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. 3 decimal places means 3 zeros and a 1 in front. So the fraction is 125 over 1,000. All right, putting in lowest terms, you want to find the largest number that will divide into 125 and 1,000. Well, I know they end in 5 and 0, so I could divide by 5, but I also recognize that I could probably divide by 25. I can actually divide by higher, but we'll start with 25. Now I know 25 times 4 would give me 100, so 25 times 5 would give me 125. So the top number is going to be 5. Now, to do 1,000 divided by 25, do 100 divided by 25. Just do 100 divided by 25. 100 divided by 25 is 4. And then we have this extra 0 here that we have to tack on. So 5 over 40. Now, 5 and 40 can both be divided by 5, so we have to divide this once more to reduce it. Divide by 5, divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 40 divided by 5 is 8. And there's our fraction in lowest terms. Okay, so we've had really small decimals. Now we have to worry about larger ones, like 3 and 26/100ths. Well, to make that a percent, mentally multiply by 100. That shifts the decimal 1, 2 behind the 6, and that's 326%. This time we're not going to get a fraction, we're actually going to get a mixed number. This 3 represents the whole number part of the mixed number. So, 3 wholes. Now our fraction part. Well, the digits behind the decimal, the 2 and the 6, are the numerator of our fraction. For the denominator, count the number of decimal spots. There are 2 decimal spots, 1, 2. So that means our denominator has to have 2 zeros. 3 and 26 over 100. They're both even numbers in the numerator and denominator, so if you divide by 2, you are going to get 3 and 13 over 50. Since we have an odd number on top and an even number on the bottom, we are probably done. Okay, so that's a mixed number. Last one we're going to do is, what about repeating decimals? So this is a repeating decimal. It's 1 and 27/100ths repeating. The 2-7 is repeating over and over again. We can also write that with bar notation, where we just write down the repeating digits and then put a bar over the 2 that are repeating. Getting the percent is exactly the same. You take your decimal. I'm going to write it in this form. You mentally multiply by 100. That shifts the decimal point. 1, 2. You now have the percent, 127%. There's still a decimal, and that's 127 and 27 hundredths, but that 27 hundredths part, the part behind the decimal, is still repeating. So it's 127 and 27 hundredths percent. Okay, we have another mixed number here. We have a whole number of 1. Right there. So that means our whole number is going to be 1. Same thing as terminating decimals. The digits behind the decimal become the numerator. We have 2 different digits. We have a 2 and a 7. So that's going to be the numerator of the fraction. Okay, this is where it changes up. We learned about a pattern of 9s in grade 7, where most repeating decimals are some sort of fraction based out of 9. So what we determine is that for every different repeating digit, you place a 9 in the denominator. There's 2 different repeating digits here, a 2 and a 7. That means we place 2 9s in the denominator. And that's only for repeating decimals. So the answer is 1n27 over 99. And then to reduce that, I know 9 times 3 is 27, and 9 times 11 is 99, so I can divide the numerator and denominator by 9, and I get 1 and 3 over 11 for my fraction. Okay, kids, these 2 videos I made hopefully will help you converting decimals to percents and fractions. Also use the golden factor sheet to help you reduce those fractions, and be practicing your multiplications and divisions, because if you're quick with those, all of this will be fine and dandy like sour candy. That's all for now. Flexing Teacher Weber out.